Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are following up with my Visiting Korea 101 video that I made previously. Today we're talking about part 2. This is going to discuss the things that you need to know in terms of where you should be staying and what you should be doing, especially if this is your first time coming to Korea. Or if it's your second, maybe I'll give you some new fun things to think about. Before I get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It would just mean the world. Comment and like to get me back into YouTube's good graces and get me back in the algorithm would be very, very much appreciated. First thing we're going to talk about is where you should stay. I know people are always kind of wondering what area is best to stay in. I'm going to talk about the popular places and also maybe some other places that you might want to think about. The most popular is Hongdae, and it's most popular for a reason. Number one, it's very nicely located on the Airport Express subway line. So it's a very easy location to be if you want to get to and from the airport, so you don't need to worry about that commute when you do need to go back to the airport. It's also a really great location in terms of having access to amazing shopping areas. There's great shopping in Hongdae. It's always very lively. There's a lot of good restaurants around, and there's a lot of really fun cafes as well. My favorite area, because there's Hongdae the main street, which is probably the most famous shopping street. You've probably seen a lot of photos and videos online. It's quite fun, but actually my favorite little neighborhood in Hongdae is actually next to it, called Myeongnam, and that's really where a lot of, I would say, locals go. Myeongnam is really known for really amazing restaurants and food options, and there's some amazing cafes in the area as well. Some of my favorite places to go actually are in that area, so I do recommend that.
When you are just randomly walking around in Hongdae, then suddenly see Cha Taeyun, twice as Geo and Jemjeon to SPM Woyen, and Show Say Ho. This fit.
I will say though, it is always very, very packed. Hongdae does have a lot of nightlife as well, so a lot of bars and clubs. So if you are someone who needs peace and quiet, or you're maybe with older people who need peace and quiet, it depends on how much noise you guys can maybe tolerate or how soundproof your hotel is. One of the most popular spots as well, and I know that when my friends have visited in the past, or when my family members have visited in the past, they like to stay there, is the area called Myeongdong. And Myeongdong is really popular because it has a lot of great shopping. It has a lot of tax-free shopping, and there's the famous Myeongdong street stalls as well. And on top of that, bonus points, because it is where the largest duty-free department store, the Shinsegae, is located. And apparently it has some of the best tax-free deals in Korea. That's what I've heard. A lot of people really like to go there. I will note that the street food stalls actually don't open till the afternoon into the evening. So keep that in mind, they're not open in the early morning. And that's just something people need to keep in the back of their head when they're planning out their schedules. On top of that, there's also an easy access cable car to Namsan Tower. It's a very convenient area to be in, and also it's very centrally located within the city, so it's easy to get from Myeongdong to Hongdae or Myeongdong to Gangnam, which is the next area we're going to talk about. Gangnam is a really popular area, and you've probably heard of it, Gangnam Style. It is one of the richer areas in Korea. It does have some higher end shopping stores, more specialty stores. It's got some really nice cafes, restaurants as well. Especially if it's your first time in Korea, I would look at the green line in terms of the subway line, and those areas are going to be your best bet because they kind of hit everywhere in terms of the major areas that most people would like to go to during their first visit, and probably the places you've seen on the internet or on TV where they film dramas and all that jazz. It's probably going to be around those areas. Some other areas that are not the main three that you might want to consider is Anguk. Anguk is near the famous palace of Korea, and it's where a lot of more of the cultural area, I guess I would say. That area has amazing coffee shops and tea rooms and more like traditional styled restaurants and even houses. And this is where a lot of the famous hanok stays are, and hanok are traditional Korean houses that have been kept and people can stay in them. Another neighborhood that is very up and coming, super trendy, is the area of Seongsu, because it's more fun, it's a little bit more vibrant, it's a little bit more young, and there's a lot of great cafes, a lot of good shopping there. And I will say the shopping in Seongsu is more Korean specific labels. So you're gonna find street trendy labels. There's great food in Seongsu, there's great cafes in Seongsu. I like kind of walking around in that area as well. And there's also always tons and tons of pop-up activities and pop-up stores that always take place in that area as well. Seoul itself is very accessible using public transportation, using cabs. Public transportation, again, ends at midnight. If you're gonna be wanting to maybe party a lot and you know you're gonna be in the Hongdae area, rather than staying in Gangnam where you would have to take a cab at the end of the night, it might be more cost effective to just stay in Hongdae if you're gonna be there all night anyway. If you're someone who just wants to rest and be in the middle and be like conveniently located, then Myeongdong would be great. If you're someone who's already been to Korea and you don't want to stay in like the major hubs, maybe try for Seongsu and just try something different. Or if you want to give everyone a nice Korean cultural experience, then Anguk might be a fun way to go. The next thing is sites you cannot miss. Some of these you've probably already heard of. The number one is obviously Gyeongbokgung Palace. That is the big one. That is the most preserved and largest palace in Seoul. And it's a lot of fun. I've done it, everyone's done it. It's kind of like a rite of passage, I feel like, when you come to Korea. You don't necessarily need to dress up in hanbok and walk around in it, but you can, it is fun. And it's not cultural appropriation. Korean people love it when you dress up in hanbok and you look cute. Now, sometimes they put it separate, but Gyeongbokgung and Bukchon Hanok Village to me are the same because they're literally in the same area. So whenever I've gone to Gyeongbokgung, I automatically go to Bukchon Hanok Village. And this is where the Hanok houses are. And this is again where I said you can maybe possibly stay in a Hanok house, which is the traditional Korean houses. And you'll see a lot of people wearing the hanboks, walking around the hanoks, taking more photos. There's some really great cafes and tea rooms, especially, that I really recommend while you're there. My personal favorite tea when I go to Anguk in that area is a tea called Omija tea. And it's kind of like a tart berry tea that I find really delicious. The next one is obviously the tower. I know there are towers everywhere in the world, and I always say it myself as well, you know, how many towers can I see? I would say Seoul Tower is quite fun. You gotta do it once. While, you know, you're here, so you might as well. You can hike to the top, which I personally have never done because I am not an advocate for hiking, but I know a lot of people who have done it. My personal take is to take the cable car. I take the cable car up. I've never eaten at the restaurant up there, if I'm gonna be honest. I would personally eat and then go. The DMZ tour, it's tour of the demilitarized zone. And I've done this tour as well. And I personally think it's something that's really interesting. It's one of the only places where you can experience something like that. You have to go through a tour. You can't go on your own. It's a politically heavy area. You can actually go in one of the blue containers. So I've technically stepped into North Korea. The most important thing though I remember is they were like, do not touch the North Korean guards, because in the boxes, there's North Korean guards actually standing guard within the boxes, because you're on the border. So once you're in the box, you can technically step into North Korea onto their side. Do not touch the guards. I went through a site called Corridor when I went, but I also know a lot of my friends who went through Klook. So I'm gonna put the links down below and you guys can check them out for yourselves. Another activity that I think is super fun is Gwangjang Market. Now, Gwangjang Market is great for not just tourists, but also for locals. It's a really big mixture of both. The food is good, the prices are good, and it's a vibe. And I will say this, I know there's a famous grandma who got really popular from the Netflix show for her noodles. They're all kind of the same. And I think because they all source their ingredients from essentially the same places, and they've all been doing this for a very, very long time. So they're all very, very good at what they do. And it's all very, very delicious. And I would just say if, you know, one area is busy, just go to the one with an empty seat. I would try everything. So good. It's so good. Another place where you can try street food that is also really popular, you've definitely seen on the internet or in some sort of drama, the Myeongdong food stalls. Those are excellent. Myeongdong is obviously great for shopping, as I noted before. There's so much good shopping in that area. The street food stalls are also very good. They don't come out till the afternoon, in the evening, so just time that wisely. But those are always actually very fun. I don't know how you guys feel about bathing, but jjimjibangs are really prominent here in Korea. People go to them all the time, and they're Korean spas. I would say the most popular and the most famous is the Dragon Hill Spa, located in an area called Yongsan, and that's the biggest, the one most frequented, I guess, by foreigners. So if you don't want as many people to stare at you, then that is the best one to go to. You can also get people to scrub off your dead skin, which is slightly painful, but to me, definitely worth it, because your skin comes out. It feels like you were reborn. Your skin becomes baby soft. And I think it's something everyone needs to experience once while they're here. And then lastly, I would say get out of Seoul. If you can, if time permits, get out of here. I think Seoul is so wonderful. It's super fun. But I also think there's so many areas outside of Seoul that are equally, if not even more wonderful, depending on your preferences. But you can do some day trips to Nami Island or Suwon, overnights to Gyeongju or Busan, which are really, really beautiful places to travel to. And you can also, if time permits and allows and weather allows, then hop on a plane to Jeju, enjoy the Korean island, eat the hallabongs, which actually are my favorite fruit. It's like top 3 of my favorite fruits of life. So I definitely want everyone to experience these oranges once in their life. You know, Seoul has definitely its own vibe, its own character, but all these other places, they all have their own kind of rhythm and cadence. I remember when I first moved here, I traveled everywhere and I always had a good time. It's really easy to get around everywhere in Korea because Korea is geographically not a super big country. So you can get from Seoul to Busan, which is the most southern part of the country, in just a couple hours. We have a great high-speed rail system. You can take the KTX or the SRT, depending on where you need to go. The KTX is probably the most popular and most routes. And there's an app that you can download to get tickets in advance, or you can just book them directly at the station. And if you have any other questions, and maybe you want me to get a little bit more specific, we can break it down by area. We can talk about specific restaurants. I'm happy to do a part 3. But let me know if there's anything else that you guys really, really want to know. But for now, this is part 2 of Visiting Seoul 101. I hope this was really helpful, and I hope this proves to be good information for some of you guys who are visiting Korea soon. And I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!